Hello everyone, I'm Drunvalo Melchizedek, and I'm here today to answer questions. You have given me some exciting questions right now, so I'm going to begin to answer them. The first one is from Shannon Johnson, and she has two questions actually. And I'll just read her question and then I'll answer it. She says, are crystals the highest form of earth or rock evolution, or are they in a form that is ultimate perfection, like something all life strives for, or are they in a class of their own? Well, it's really as above, so below. All things are linked together. All levels of life are linked together. And crystals are simply atoms that have decided to connect together in very specific geometrical patterns. And that creates crystals. They are the highest form of mineral life, which is one level of life. And if there is something higher on mineral life, I'm not aware of what it is. There could be. And, so they are like an ultimate perfection of that. But you must understand about crystals, there's much more to that than deeper aspects of this question. Crystals are living beings. They are alive. They are conscious. They are aware, just like we are. In fact, if you go onto the periodic table of elements, you'll see that on the table there'll be carbon, and directly underneath carbon is silicon, and which is one octave below carbon. These two atoms, by science, are known as the living atoms. They are alive. For a long time, we thought it was only carbon was the only living thing. We didn't know there was anything else. And in the 50s, we discovered that there was silicon, which exhibits the same exact principles of life that carbon does. And so when you're holding a crystal and you have one in your hand, realize that this crystal is connecting with you in ways that you may just be becoming aware of. And they can be your teacher. They can communicate with you once you become used to subtle energies. I worked for years with crystals. I still do. Not so much as I used to. I used to be really involved in them. I used to give classes on them all the time. But they are living, they're alive, and they are extremely useful to your evolution if you will allow them to be this way. Okay, Sharon asked another question. Let me see what it is. She says, when one asks for a sign from the universe, that was a quote, sign from the universe, I assume that for the most part these signs are highly personalized and perhaps only perceived by the asker. On the other hand, as I read in the book, there are the triple numbers that signal certain learning patterns. Are these other signals and symbols that appear that anyone can pick up on that are not such personalized ones? What are they and what are their meaning? Well, the indigenous world is very much aware of this, and so are the ancient cultures, many of the ancient cultures, the Egyptians and Sumerians and all over the world in ancient times. They understood that the signs were a way of communicating with Mother Earth and Father Sun. So when a ceremony is done, for example, in the Native American world, and if they are trying to see if that is, if there is permission to do something, for example, and they're doing a ceremony around that, they watch to see if there are signs coming from nature, things they can't control. Nothing that they can have any influence on at all. And so if they see lightning come down in a certain way, or perhaps an eagle fly directly over the top of their ceremony, these are signs to the indigenous people. It's communication from Mother Nature, and they almost always want 3 signs or more. Sometimes they want more, but usually almost everywhere it's 3. And when they see the 3 signs, sometimes they will then do another ceremony, and they may do this 2 or 3 times, watching for those signs to come over if it's something really, really important. You mentioned the triple numbers, and let me explain that. That is a very similar thing. That is something that was given to me personally by the angels in about 1972. And they wanted me to use it as a way of confirming to myself many of the things that I was experiencing within myself. So if I was trying to see if I understood something, perhaps about whatever it was that I was trying to understand, I would watch the triple numbers as they move through my reality. I have no control over that. It's like I look at a billboard and there's a phone number and it has 555 on it. Or I see a license plate if a car goes by and it's 333. Or there's other ways you can see those numbers. They can be in letters. Like MMM is 444. And if you count the letters as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, those are 1 through 9. And you start all over again, 1 through 9. This is the procedure that I was taught. And so letters, you could have a 4 and an M and a 4. When you have that, it means it is it means it's somewhat hidden, but it still is there. Let's talk about first of all, give the why triple numbers are important. And I'm not the first person to ever talk about this, by the way. Alice Bailey was one who talked about this. It's all based on music. If you look at the chromatic scale of 12 notes and the 13th note there's a return, the cycles per second of the notes between each one of these notes is 11 cycles per second and multiples thereof. So it's all 11, 22, 33, 34, 55, etc. that go up. So whenever you see even double numbers, like you see 11, that means that there is a harmonic moment is taking place. But when you see triple or more, then a really harmonic moment is taking place. And what that harmonic moment is about depends on what those numbers mean. And so what the numbers mean is this. 111 refers to energy flow. It could be any kind of energy flow. It could be money. It could be electricity. It could be sexual energy. It could be anything at all that is associated with energy or even the subtle energies, but it's energy flow. It's almost always positive. 222 means that a new cycle is about to begin in your life, and it depends on what you're thinking about when you see 22. That's the other thing. It's very much like the I Ching. Whatever you're thinking about is what the I Ching talks about, and the same way, whatever is in your mind when you see the triple number is what it's referring to. And so when you see 222, it means a new cycle is about to happen, and it's based on whatever it is that you're thinking about. But what the nature of that cycle is determined by the next triple numbers that you see. 333 means that you have a decision in your life about whatever you're thinking about. And that decision is going to move in two ways. It's either going to become 666 or it's going to become 999. 999 means it was completed, and whatever you were making the decision on, you made the right choice, and it was solved, it was completed. If it went to 666, it means that it went out of harmony, and that you're going to have to do it again. You're going to have to find another way to complete that whatever decision that you're trying to make. And I'll talk about 666 and 99 in just a moment. The next one is 444. This is a completely different stage of development here of the numbers. And 444 refers to the mystery schools. It's the school where you are in ordinary life and you have just stepped in and begin to become aware of spiritual life and of the subtle energies. And as you begin to study, you're usually reading books. And as you're reading these books, that is the school, that's the mystery school of 444. So you're reading about spirituality. You're not really doing it so much as you're trying to understand what it means and the expansiveness of what the mystery school is. Then there is 555. 555 is actually the highest number. It is the number of completion of the mystery school. So we've jumped from the beginning to the very end when you go from 444 to 555. 555 is the number of Christ. It's the number of unity consciousness. It is the pentagon. It's the angle of 72 degrees It goes on and on and on. But it is the perfection of the human being. 666, we all know that that's the number of the beast, but it actually refers to us and to the material world. We are carbon, which we talked about a little bit before, and carbon is based on 6 electrons, 6 neutrons, and 6 protons. And so we are the number 666. And we are the material world where we are at this moment in polarity consciousness. And so that number, when you see it one time, it basically usually means a warning. It means whatever you're thinking about, be careful, because the material world is about to enter into that. If you see it twice in a row, you have to seriously consider this. If it starts coming up 3 and 4 and 5 times, your life is in danger. You really just got to stop, be very, very careful. If you're driving a car, I would pull over. In fact, I did this one time. I was in Germany, and and 666 came up about 4 or 5 times, and he did pull over, and his motor blew up, and I mean, it just exploded. And so another little story, I was in Australia, and somebody asked me about what 666 mean, and I was walking down the street, and I said, it was the material world. I was looking like this, and I didn't notice there was a sign low, and I ran in and bumped my head on the sign and almost knocked myself out. And so it's physical, is what it is. It's a physical thing. It can mean evil, but only in extreme cases. It usually just means the material world. 777 is part of the mystery school again. There's 3 numbers, 444, 777, and 555. 777 is where you've been reading books, you've been trying to understand the spiritual world, you've been trying to understand ascension and resurrection and meditation and all these kinds of things that are associated with this. And then you step into a stage where you go out of that study mode and you begin to practice. You begin to practice meditation and yoga, and you begin to practice pranayama or breathing, and you begin to actually do this. And that's the school, that's the number 777. That's what it means. It means that's the stage that you are in at that moment. Eventually you will come to 555, which means you go from 777, where you're practicing, to till the time you become a master. And when you become a master and you actually understand what's happening and you're living it, you're breathing it, you're making it real, that's 555. Then you go into 888, and 888 is a completion number. It completes only one thing, that's 444. So when you're in the school of 444 and you're reading and studying things and you're trying to understand something, you're going to see 888 a lot. And it'll mean like you're trying to understand, say, crystals that we were talking about, and you're trying to understand them, and then all in one day you get it. You get that they're alive. You understand, you feel it. You really do understand it, and you'll see the number 888. It says to you, you've just completed that lesson in 444 in the mystery school. 999 is also a completion mode. It completes the cycles of 222. And so when you're 222 is when a new cycle is beginning, and if you see the number 999, it means that you have, just like in 333, you have completed that cycle. And so it's 999 is tied to 222 as well as to 333. 000 means nothing. So don't worry about it. So that's, and these are signs. These are signs just like the indigenous world, where they are looking for eagles and for signs that will happen, that they can see the meaning from the symbol of what that sign is. This is a very defined mathematical way of looking at it, and you can really tell what's going on at any moment in your life if you watch these things. Once you know this and you start looking, it'll blow your mind, because Mother Earth is talking to you all the time. You don't realize this most of the time, but she is constantly discussing things with you. So I hope that helps you. And let's see. This one is from Michael Tomlin from Russia. And he says, can I use the Merkaba to teleport my consciousness, not a physical body, to a parallel reality, to teleport to infinity? Well, that's a pretty deep question. The Merkaba, just for those that don't know what this is, that our body generates a physical field around our body. It is about 55 to 60 feet in diameter, and it looks like a flying saucer around your body when it's activated. And the Merkaba is the means of, when you die, it is how you are able to move from this world to the next world. And you use it when you're born into the next world. So it's really important, but it has many, many, many other uses besides just as a vehicle. He's talking about teleporting his consciousness to a parallel reality. And yes, you can if you really have the proper relationship with your Merkaba. You can teleport your consciousness into other parallel worlds and to other dimensional worlds also. It is a form of movement. In fact, the word Merkaba in Hebrew means chariot or a vehicle. And so you can actually even use it to simply fly around the external world while your body is laying on a bed somewhere. And it's real. You can actually prove to yourself. I remember when I was learning how to do this many years ago, one of the things I did was, after I had done a whole lot of other things and I was getting used to it, I flew down to a library because I was trying to see if this was really real. And I flew into a library, and in my etherical body, I took a book off the shelf that I'd never seen before. I looked at it, never seen it, opened it up, saw who the author was, and I read the ISBN number on there, and I memorized the number and the name, closed it up, put it back in, flew back to my body, woke up, got in my body, drove down to the library, found the book. It was real, which was enough in itself that kind of blew my mind. And then I looked at the ISBN number, and it was the actual number. And when I saw that number, and it was the right number, that's when my confidence in this kind of work increased pretty dramatically. Since then, I have been able to do almost anything in these levels. And you can too. Anybody can, and it's okay. When you're in your Merkaba, and if you're doing it through Merkaba science, you're safe in there. Nobody can mess with you. It's not like doing astral projection, where you're held only by a little cord, and you really are not very safe doing that kind of movement outside of your body. But when you're in your Merkaba, it's not a problem. If you truly have activated it properly and you know what you're doing, you can really begin to study the universe. You can go to other planets, you can go to other worlds and see what life is like. You can't stay there, you can't bring your physical body with you under these conditions, but you can do that. Okay, everybody, thank you. And until next time, we'll have more questions in the future. Okay, thank you.